Well, thanks for joining us today for another episode of Encounters with God. We have a very special guest from Ukraine, Sofia. And Sofia, you were here, if I understand right, you were here in Arkansas your senior year here on a student visa studying.
Yeah, so I won a contest in Ukraine, thanks to which I was able to come to United States and to study 1 year in American high school.
I think they picked, what, 200. So, boy, the
Yes.
chances of you being here were
Yeah,
slim to none.
yeah. It's always interesting to look how some things at first it looks for you something scary, like coming here to States when you're 16 alone, or something really sad like the start of the war is actually a blessing from God in disguise. I came here and I met my host family, and even now we keep each other in contact. I went actually to their house for Christmas break, and Ukrainian family and my now American family are also like in a good relationship with each other. So it's wonderful.
What was your high school, your senior years? How was that experience?
It was I would probably that 1 year of being in Arkansas and being in high school changed a lot of traits in my personality and my personality overall. I would say thanks to my host family and just environments that they created for me, I was able to grow tremendously. But throughout the year, in the first part, like in fall, early winter, there were news about possible war and invasion. But my mom kept saying, "Oh, it's a lie. It's all fine." And I'm thinking like that too. But at one moment, my host mom, Ember, she said, "Just so you know, no matter what happens, you're always welcome to stay with us. Like, what happens, just know that we are here for you." But I was just like, "Oh, it's fine. Nothing is gonna happen." And then a couple months later, war broke out, and it was a really weird moment because from one side, I'm grieving because atrocities are happening to my country. I cannot
Hmm.
my parents. I don't know what's happening.
Right.
At the same time, I should be joyful and grateful that God worked out my plans in such ways that I'm in the safest place possible.
When the war broke out, were they kinda on the run, or did they just stay put in their house?
They just stayed in their house. Thankfully, the cities that we live doesn't have any significance
Sure.
to military locations or anything. Till the start of ETBU, I was like in this really weird state where I feel terrible for not being there with my people and suffering with them.
Right.
Same time, I'm suffering here, but I felt like I had no reason to because I mean, I'm healthy, I'm alive, I'm safe, you know? And after war broke out, I had choices either to go back to Ukraine, which my parents immediately said no, do another year of being a senior in high school,
Mhm.
or try to go to university. My host parents said that there is no reason for you to go back or go to high school again. So let's try to figure things out how we can go to university. It was early March when we started trying to figure things out, but most of the deadlines for application were done. You cannot really apply anywhere. Thankfully, we got in contact with ETBU and they were so sweet and nice, especially Dr. Seeley, who was working with me in Vika directly. And so Friday, 3 days before school starts, I got admitted into ETBU. And on the first day of classes, I was moving into ETBU.
Wow, you were cutting it close.
Oh gosh, it was so overwhelming. And I was just, what is happening? And at the same time, there is this like burden of responsibility in some way because I've been here for more than a year now
Mhm.
and I kind of had things figured out, and I know English better than Vika. And so there was sort of responsibility of helping Vika because it was completely new. And so I feel like having this person that I need to help and someone who understands me on much deeper levels than other Americans, thanks to shared culture, was really helpful when I started my journey here.
And so your host family, they had a connection to East Texas Baptist. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes. So my host mom's parents, both of them are ETBU alumni.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. They were pastors here in Longview. Is that right?
So my
Longview,
host
Texas.
mom's dad, I call them host grandparents. It just us, but yes, he's a pastor over in Longview.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's neat how God coordinates things and puts things together to bring things into place. So your communication now, how do you stay in touch with your family and how are they doing?
Yeah, so I contact my parents through video calls.
Hmm.
It honestly really depends because there will be some weeks where I would call twice a day for like 10 minutes just between classes because I'm bored and I would be like, oh, here I am. Like, look, I'm sitting here.
Hmm.
Sometimes I think that I'm a really bad daughter because sometimes it would take weeks for me to call them. But we would text. They're doing well. They live in western part of Ukraine, so it's much safer and more peaceful than other parts.
So what are you studying at the university?
So currently, I'm majoring in marketing with a minor in political science. Um, Political science because I want to go to law school after that. But marketing is something that I was always interested in. And at the same time, I just want to have a plan in case I change my mind and decide not to go to law school.
So what does ETBU mean to you?
Talking about ETBU overall, I remember the first time I got here, even in like June, just to look around campus. Dr. Seeley said a phrase that it feels like home and everyone feels like family. And at first, because there was no people, I was like, everyone says that. Like, it's definitely okay, but it doesn't feel like family. It does. Like, you can feel connection with everyone. I really appreciate teachers, obviously students too, but I was just able to form such an important connections with each teacher that I had.
Most teenagers in the United States or college students don't have the experience of what you're going through or what you experienced with war back home and trying to
Mhm.
communicate with family.
Yeah, but it also takes a lot of grace in me in a way that even though I went through a lot of hardships, I also need to understand that everyone here is going through something. Like some kids, even the fact that they went from a smaller city here to ETBU is a really big deal for them. I can always be like, "Oh, your problems are nothing compared to mine." It just takes so much grace to still see their problem and then
Mhm.
it's a problem for them.
Well, I think you're right. No matter who we are, everybody's going through something. Do you have some girlfriends back home in Ukraine that were your friends that you stay in touch with?
I do a lot. I had a pretty big friend group back in Ukraine, and so I'm still trying to stay in touch with all of them. But it's also a hard thing because everyone has their own hardships and problems, and like most of them moved overseas too or abroad. It's just really important to stay in connection, and we understand that, and we all miss each other. It's just so hard to stay in touch.
How has your relationship with the Lord grown since you've been in the United States?
Mhm. It's actually a really interesting story because in Ukraine, I was raised in Orthodox Church,
Hmm.
and so I had a really complicated relationship with God because I was at that age where I was questioning a lot of things, but at the same time, I was never able to receive answer on those questions. And when I came to States, my host parents are obviously believers, and I was able to go to a non-denominational church in Little Rock, and just being able to receive some of the answers to my questions, and being able to come here and being able to go to chapel or like talk to some of the professors about um, this and just religion overall was really helpful helpful for me.
It kind of made your faith more personal.
Yeah, and I could definitely say that my story as a believer probably started when I came to United States.
How are you enjoying your have you taken some theology classes there?
I do. I'm actually taking Old Testament right now, and
Mhm.
it's amazing how things work out in a way that I can say that I'm growing in my faith. I receive more and more questions. And there are some questions where I'm just like, well, since I've been in Orthodox church and I've been in Baptist church and I've been in non-denominational church, there's so
Mhm.
many things that are different and so many approaches to salvation, to the whole lifestyle, all those things. And just like, well, what is the right thing? And does it even matter? You know, I've been doing my research and just being able to take Old Testament class with a professor that is really knowledgeable in Christianity overall. I have questions, but like I'm not just trying to find the answer. I'm trying to ask people for their perspective to come to the truth on my own. So just being able to see all those people, all those sources to do my own research, it's just like amazing how it all works out.
Yeah, I appreciate your time and your
Yeah.
willingness to share with us, Sophia.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.